Wow, sorry I'm late, guys, but I had to put up that story of David Miller. That 94 was spectacular to witness. What a performance by David Miller, doing what he was paid to do. Now, I was obviously sitting on the couch watching the game and sitting there thinking, oh, is he going to keep the strike at that final over? Please don't take a single. Take it home, David. This is what you were paid to do. Go ahead and do so. And he did exactly that. He was exceptional in the way he approached his innings. Yes, he was aided also by Rashid Khan. If Rashid Khan doesn't get that 40 of 21 balls, it's a whole different ball game altogether. But what I enjoyed from David Miller is that he stuck it through. I mean, he came into the game with his team in a very difficult position, and he took them over the line, batted till the last over. He kept the strike, even though Lockie Ferguson was looking like he wanted to run at David for a quick single. He did exceptionally well. Got a little bit lucky because Jordan bowled a no ball and hit a four of the no ball. And then two of the last ball, it was just a perfect innings from their part, a perfect innings from him, a play of the match performance. And it kicks us off perfectly for this particular discussion. What is the IPL teaching us as South Africans and as fans of this game? Because I was sitting before this happened today, and obviously I'm excited about what I saw Miller do because I've been waiting for Miller to take control of an innings like this for a very long time, and he did it to the T. But there were some stats thrown on Facebook today that I saw in one of the posts, which actually makes us start to think about the standard of cricket in the IPL. There are a lot of people that believe that the IPL is a very high standard of cricket, and I've always stood firm and said that the highest level of cricket is international cricket, whether it's T20 internationals, ODIs, or Test cricket. Obviously, Test cricket the highest and pinnacle of the sport, but when it comes to T20 cricket, I still think international cricket is harder. And if you look at some of the greats of the game, if you look at the likes of AB de Villiers and compares T20I stats to his IPL stats, it's like chalk and cheese. I mean, T20I stats in 78 matches, he scored 1,672 runs and an average of 26.1 with a strike rate of 135.2. When you look at him in the IPL, starting 2 years later, he's played 184 matches, almost double, and then scored 5,162 runs at an average of 39.7. Look at that vast difference in the averages. But it's that strike rate that is even crazier. 151.7 in IPL, 135.2 in the T20 arena, in the international arena. Then if we can throw some other stats at you, there's some other guys that we can also have a look at. It's not only AB. I mean, I wanted to obviously, you can highlight AB, but if you look at someone like Rishabh Pant, these were all sent to us by Sipo Bala, by the way, on Facebook. So shout out to him for sending us the stats. Um, Rishabh Pant in T20I cricket, 43 matches, 24.4 average, 125.8 is his strike rate. And then you look at the IPL, and since 2016, 89 matches, 2,600 runs, 2,642 to be exact, 35.2 average, 147.4. So that says something about the standard that these batters, these talented batters that are explosive in the IPL and showing off their skills, haven't been able to do it at the T20I level at the same level. You know, they're not hitting this exactly the same level and standard that they were hitting when you look at compare the IPL to T20 cricket. Now, this is not for everybody. It is for some guys. There will be obviously exceptions to the rule when we're looking at this, but it still proves to me that the standard of international cricket is still the pinnacle of T20 cricket. Nothing beats international cricket, and that needs to remain the same. But what are we learning from this? What are we learning from? Um, what are we learning from the likes of the IPL, this tournament? To me, I think what I'm learning is that this tournament is very entertaining. And don't be wrong, it's very entertaining, extremely entertaining from a fun perspective. It's like A lot of people talk about leagues and they compare football, for example. I've had a couple of conversations with my friend, for example, one of my close friends, about the difference between, like, for example, the Premier League and other leagues around the world. Um, and when I look at it, and I did do the research after he told me that, because I didn't believe that what he said. But we had a conversation about, like, the technicality and the technical ability that you will see, for example, um, in other leagues compared to the Premier League. The Premier League is seen as the best league, the most expensive league, the biggest league. But is the standard of football as high as maybe the standard of football in other leagues? Not from a competitive perspective, but I'm talking about a skill level. Passing abilities, keeping the ball, being able to cross the ball accurately, those type of things. From a technical perspective. In the IPL, it does seem like there are a lot more opportunities to score. Um, People are under a lot of pressure to perform, and I think maybe that is maybe why they bowlers that will normally be extremely tidy at international level seem to be a little bit more wayward in IPL. They seem to bowl a little bit. The bowling is obviously a little bit different, but you also need to think about it and think about the conditions played in, pitches, all of those things you need to take in considerations. We can't just look at the stats and say, okay, IPL X and T20Y. Where was the T20I World Cup played? Where were those T20 matches played? On what type of surfaces, etc., etc. We have to look at those too. So that also will play a part. I did see a lot more lucid deliveries in the IPL so far, because it does seem like the dew has been playing its part in this particular tournament. Um, a lot more than in previous tournaments. And or maybe I haven't watched enough of the IPL to really see that how it's affected it before. But in this particular tournament, we've seen games slip away. Bowlers have control of the match, and then in the last couple of overs, it slips away. But that's also because batters switch on in those last couple of overs as well. And um, what's nice about the IPL is it gives our players like Aiden Markram and David Miller and guys like that some freedom to just go ahead and just smack the ball and play with complete freedom. That's what I like. For the bowlers, is a little bit different. I think the pressure is on the bowlers a lot more than the batters. That's just my opinion on this matter. The bowlers are heavily scrutinized, because if they do lose, if they get smacked around it doesn't look really well, look good on them. Aditya's with us now. Great, so we can have a proper discussion on this. So I was just talking about, generally speaking, the standard of the IPL, etc. Like, can you hear me, Aditya? Are you cool? Yeah, okay. Someone sent like a stat to me of the averages between some international cricketers at T20 level compared to the IPL. Like, they showed that the averages are vastly different. Even the strike rates are like vastly different, but 20, but almost like, it's a massive difference. Especially like a guy like AB de Villiers. Now, I don't know that obviously you depends on the conditions you play in as well. The pitches will have a say as well. But it does seem like players play with a lot more freedom in the IPL than they do in international cricket. The nerves are there, the pressure's there. It's different standard. You've got world class bowlers in every single team, so we know that the competition is going to be a lot heavier. But what are we learning from the IPL? I feel that we're starting to see that if you allow your players to play with this freedom, what they can actually achieve. And I think that's a bonus for like the likes of Aiden, what we're seeing, Dewald Brevis. I like the approach that the IPL has had with Dewald. It seems like they have almost told him, you know what, youngster, go out there and have fun. Go out there and play your natural game, enjoy yourself. Yes, the runs will come naturally because of it. It seems like that, because he doesn't seem like he's under pressure at all. Maybe that's him as a player. Maybe that's him as a player. Maybe that's how he accepts pressure. But it doesn't seem like our South African batters have been under pressure necessarily, the ones that have played and started. It seems like they're allowed to just go out there and play their natural game. Now, of course, we saw a fantastic innings by David Miller. And I ran late, of course, because I wanted to put up a quick piece so that we can get some traction to this podcast as well, because I wanted to put the link in there. So I just ran away to do that quickly before this show. But from a South African perspective, Aditya, and then we can move more into maybe an India perspective. But from a South Africa perspective, what do you think we are learning, or South African fans will be learning from watching this IPL and watching our players? perform?
Well, plenty. But if I have to be really specific about South African players, back in 2020, I'd written a piece for the magazine in which I had highlighted a couple of stats, which compare South Africa's record in bilateral series, that is playing just one opposition, versus South Africa playing in tri-series or in multi-nation tournaments. And you see that there's a significant difference there because South Africa does really well when they're playing one team in a similar set of conditions as opposed to multiple teams in a variety of different conditions. And if you look at the IPL, let's take COVID out of the picture because in a situation where COVID would not exist, all these different cities would host IPL games, which means that every single player would be playing a different opposition every single game in different conditions. So the one thing that you certainly learn from the IPL is adaptability. And with AB de Villiers, like you mentioned, I think the one thing that the IPL also gives you, certainly if you're a part of the playing 11, is that sense of continuity, where your role is defined. Um, you look at um, you look at the Royal Challengers Bangalore right now, for example. Every single player under Faf du Plessis' captaincy knows exactly what role he has to play. And it's no surprise that they're doing quite well at the tournament with 4 out of 6 wins. So that's something that I think helps players, that continuity. Whereas you look at the number of T20Is a team plays, yeah, that's typically the format that uh, that boards use to rest your main players. So I feel like you look at Ben Stokes' record, for example, his T20I record is nowhere near a reflection of his talent as a cricketer.
It's a good
And
point
that's
that
it.
because
Even
it's
the
true.
Williams.
Yeah, they don't get that same consistency, in international cricket. Maybe they do get rested a lot. So I do get your point on that. Um, what I've learned as well is South Africa needs to take pointers over here on how to run a tournament with regards to when to give players opportunities. Lisa said something excellent here, actually, that I just saw now pop up. I like how IPL gives young players a chance to showcase their talent even before they've played for their country, like with Umran Malik. So, for example, I would like to see our Mzansi Super League. Hopefully, we change it down the line, a different name, but I would like to see our Mzansi Super Leagues, etc., give those youngsters opportunities a lot more than they have. I would even go as far as maybe putting a quota on the amount of youngsters played. For example, two maybe even in each team. That would be an excellent one. One batter, one bowler must play. That would be an excellent way of thinking of it and of looking away and forcing players to be chosen. Um, our T20 competitions, the more T20 competitions we have, the more T20 cricket that is played, the more the world gets to see our T20 players, the more players of color will come through, the more players that will be able to play the format, the more the IPL will see more people from South Africa down the line. At the moment, the only way they get to see South African cricketers, mainly, I feel, is when international games are on, and in India are playing South Africa specifically, as well as maybe some times when our competitions are broadcasted in India. That's very seldom. It's not all competitions, because we can't even get all competitions broadcasted from South Africa on our TV. So it's interesting to see that. But that's definitely lessons to learn from with regards to giving people opportunities. Aditya, can you maybe weigh in? Do you agree with that, or do you feel that there is maybe some do you maybe see that think that some youngsters are maybe overlooked, or not enough youngsters are getting an opportunity in IPL? How do you feel about it?
I, well, I think plenty of players are given opportunities, and um, whether that's uncapped youngsters or capped youngsters, I think there is opportunity for everyone at the IPL. Um, and if you look at team compositions, that ultimately 25 players form the entirety of each squad. So there's a lot of talent there, and you have to look at like Umran Malik. Lisa mentioned Umran Malik there. You know, Umran Malik last year he was a net bowler for Sunrisers Hyderabad. He came in as a replacement, and then he blew everyone away with his pace, and he ended up being retained by the franchise. You know, so that's that's the ultimate sort of underdog story there. But I agree completely with Lisa that you know the IPL does give young players a chance to showcase their talent. You look at just right now, you know, there's Abhinav Manohar Sadarangani, there's Ayush Badoni, there's Tilak Verma for the Mumbai Indians. You know, there's plenty of talent there that still hasn't represented India. And look, technically, you know, 11 players form a team. You know, so 11 players are going to play for India. But there's still plenty of talent out there that can be nurtured through the IPL. And you know, the MSL has the potential to do the same. You know, where the IPL stands out a bit more is that you look at games day in and day out. The degree of pressure and with which the frequency of high pressure games forces players to adapt. You know, if you watched Aiden Markram the other day when he made 68 of 36, that was a high quality innings. That was phenomenal. But you know what he said at the end of his innings was that in the previous edition of the IPL, he was playing when the team had to chase down 4 runs in the last over, and they were not able to do that. Aiden Markram was stranded at the other end. So this time, he decided not to take a deep, and he's going to finish it off early. That's a lesson for you right there. That a player has been through a situation, he's realized that it hasn't worked for him. There might be another way to do it, and he did it. There's, to me, that's what the IPL is about. You know, you're put in a situation, a high pressure situation. It doesn't come up for you on that day, but you take that lesson, and it works for you when you're playing for another team, but you're presented with exactly the same situation.
Yeah. Um, I think this edition of the tournament as well is preparing our players for the next World Cup as well. Particularly our big hitters and those guys. Um, yes, unfortunately, the IPL did maybe affect us from a national test perspective. Some people might say, because you would like to see Aiden come back, etc., and play. Um, what I would like though is more players to be picked from a South African perspective in the IPL. Now we don't have control over that, of course. No one has control over that really. You pick what's available, what's the best for what you need. And because it's a whole lot of international players, you can't necessarily pick as many as you want necessarily. So it is quite tough. But I would like to see more players come through the system. Um, I would like to see more players getting given opportunity. I would have really liked to see someone like Timba Bavuma get picked up, you know. But I mean, it's not very often that players like him have been picked like that. You know, there are a couple of them floating around in the IPL. Utapa maybe that holds an innings together and then can excel at the end. You got a Faf du Plessis that can do something like that. Now, I'm not saying Timba Bavuma is on the same level with regards to strike rates in that second half. That's something he needs to improve on his game. I feel I've seen him do it a couple of times, but he needs to improve that, and he can learn a lot from these guys too. I think them coming back into the system, they'll be able to converse and the way the mentality are of these coaches. You can see there's a lot of South African coaches walking around there. It's nice to see that South African connection is there. That there is a mentality in South Africa that has this certain type of brand of cricket that they want to play. Hopefully that moves into the IPL as well, and those IPL players play like that too. Um, but yeah, I'm enjoying the cricket so far. I mean, the IPL has been quite entertaining so far. From the parts that I could watch, of course. Um, I've tried to watch all of the South African innings, at least that I've tried to do that. It fits in, and I've been lucky because majority of the time we have been batting at a favorable time for myself. You know, so it's good to see that with the fast happening and everything, it's difficult for me to catch the whole game. But yeah, it's interesting to see. I thought. like we can talk about Miller's innings today. Miller did everything right today. I had nothing to criticize him on. I was sitting there waiting, and I was like, is he gonna farm that strike again? Is he gonna take that stupid single that he shouldn't? And he didn't. He stayed on the other end. He didn't even cross when Rashid Khan ran as well. That was a smart move because it was the last ball of the over. All of those things. He did everything right. He even stood in a partnership. He took the attack early on to your best spinner, the best spinner in CSK, probably arguably, Jadeja. So like he did everything right, and it was something that I feel that he can definitely learn from. Now I'm hoping that he can obviously take this and continue this in the international arena, because that's what matters to me the most. How do these players take this, what they've learned here, and do it on the international stage? But yeah, so far, which innings were you most impressed by so far, Aditya? Was it Dewald? Uh, was it Aiden's two knocks? Was it Dewald's three knocks? So, or do you think David Miller's two knocks? Which one was the one or Faf's first knock? What is the ones that really stood out to you the most?
I mean, all the ones that you just mentioned, I've enjoyed all of them. Unfortunately, I was out when Miller was playing, so it looks like I've missed a masterclass. Although I did follow the score
94,
on
bro.
Cricket Info,
Oof.
94 or
What?
51. Yeah,
Yeah. Look,
I
that
can
last
only
over
imagine.
did get a little. That last over did get got a little bit of luck, obviously, because Chris Jordan bowled a no ball, full toss that he hit, and he actually went out. he, so like he hit the ball and he went out, and then they obviously had to put a free hit and then hit the four. So it was
Yeah,
tight, and there was some luck involved. But what an innings it was, yes.
yeah, yeah. And look, I think Faf and Miller, they're seasoned campaigners, so we almost have expectations from them that they will perform. So I think I would like to go with Aiden and Devil's Knox as the top there, because I think Aiden has come in low on confidence in batting, and for him to come in and finish games now 2 games in a row, because he scored a 50 early on in the tournament, in a losing cause, and then he scored a match-winning 68, and he's finished off the innings again today with the fantastic 41. So I'm very impressed with Aiden, and I've loved his growth there. And I was just telling a friend that Aiden's going to be hot pocketing the IPL for a long time, because he's obviously a world class batsman. He can give you 4 overs with the ball, and he's a brilliant fielder. So that's the complete package. So long may his run of form continue, and I hope he brings home plenty of more such innings for the Sunrisers. As for Dewold, that kid is unbelievable. I mean, to score 31 of 13, and those no look sixes, world class. He deserves every bit of appreciation that he gets, and there's no better sort of learning manual for him, right? He's Rohit Sharma as his captain. Sachin Tendulkar is his mentor. Mahela Javardhan is his coach. Zahir Khan is the director of cricket operations. It doesn't get much better as a coaching staff, So I can like he's going to be leap years ahead of players who are 18 years old.
Same ages, yeah. Definitely, and that's the thing. Um, Shows what that World Cup did for him, because I mean he was exceptional, even against India. A lot of the players that he's playing against, you'll have some guys that he'll play with. It's like a combination of everything. He's going to learn so much from this experience, because he's literally comparing himself against the best of the best, like I mean, you can't get better than that. It's like, it's like a dream. Like, I mean, even though I'm crap, I would still want to play against these players. Like like I'm nowhere near that level, but it's a dream for anybody to want to play against, like in a fantasy league like this. I call it almost like it's like a fantasy dream type of league that you have here, with all the best players playing against each other almost. So it was great to see, that he's playing with so much freedom. What I like the most about it is that he's not phased by getting good deliveries. Like if he gets a good delivery and he misses it and he plays a bad shot, it doesn't seem like it phases him at all. It's almost like he dusts it off and then just hits the next ball for six. Like it's incredible the shift that he has. He's not scared of. It doesn't seem like he's scared of failing or playing a shot that doesn't go well for him. And at such a young age to be so mature. I mean, yes, at the end of this month he'll turn 19, but still, he's still a youngster. I mean, majority of this tournament he's playing as an 18-year-old. So it's incredible to see that Dewald is playing with such freedom and that he's playing with a smile on his face. I mean, what is this is going to do for him and what that will help it will help South Africa too. I think that's excellent. That it will help South Africa from that perspective, and that's why it's tough because I'm watching also when I come to the bowlers again. South Africa's bowlers are struggling. Other than Dwayne Pretorius, the others are pretty having a pretty difficult time at this IPL at the moment, particularly KG. I mean, Anas, we haven't seen again after that first game. I mean, wow, it was terrible. And you can only expect that from a guy that's coming back from a long injury. That's why, yeah, my point on that. But he was picked up for a hell of a lot of money, so it was a risk that the franchise had to take, unfortunately, and he needs to get back into that swing of things. But our bowlers have struggled. Teacher, do you think that the dew and stuff in the evenings is playing its part with regards to the bowlers? Because especially in the last bit of every innings, teams seem to look in control. Like I've seen scores of 130 for two, and then at the end it's just like a flurry of wickets and very low, and then it's either flurry of wickets or sorry, not a flurry of runs. Sorry, like that has been scored towards the end. Like there's been a massive increase in the amount of runs that has been scored in that last 4 overs in innings,
Yeah. So
especially
what's
with
happened
chasing.
certainly in the evening games.
Yeah.
The evening game started at 7:30 p.m. So typically for the team that's batting first, the power play and perhaps 2 overs after the first 7-8 overs tend to be quite challenging, and that's the best phase for a seamer to be bowling. Secondly, uh, the IPL this edition is being played on 4 grounds. So what has happened is that in order to protect those wickets for a 2 month period, there's been extra grass on those wickets, which will which will be shaved off, as the tournament progresses. But it's something that the groundsman needed to do in order to protect those wickets. So if you look at how dangerous seamers have been and how difficult it has been for opening batters to score runs in this IPL, perhaps Josh Butler being an exception, it has been tough, you know. But in saying that, it's kind of surprising to see that KG hasn't been he hasn't been at his fiery best, I suppose. But maybe he'll get better as the tournament goes on. But speaking of Dew is a massive concern, and that basically it changes your tactics. If you look at how RCB bowled yesterday, they were fantastic. That yesterday's performance from RCB was basically the template that teams should follow in how to adapt to do. Hazelwood, Hasaranga, Harshal Patel, Siraj, etc. They really put up a masterclass in how to bowl with dew, but it is really difficult. If you look at the previous game between Chennai and RCB, Chennai scored 156 runs in the last 10 overs. Can you believe that? That's a staggering number.
That's
156.
incredible.
156 runs in the last 10 overs is almost unheard of, and there's not much you can do there with a wet ball. There was an expert there who said that bowling with dew is like having wet soap in your hand with the ball, So
It's exactly like that because I've seen how balls have been slipping out of people's hands, etc. Like especially like you saw Jordan. Jordan doesn't bowl like that normally. I mean, even Trent Bolts in some occasions, you wouldn't see him be so loose. Like like he's normally on the money every single time. So yeah, I think that will obviously play its part. But I was looking at KG's speeds as well. It was like his slow deliveries were like 114, 115, 116. Not even like in the 20s. Like normally, normally KG's slower deliveries are more like 120s, 25s, 28s, but one below 120. I haven't seen that from KG, and that was interesting for me to see. I don't know, eh? He has lost a bit of pace, you could say. But has anybody hit like 150 plus in this tournament so far? Consistently, Aditya. Like consistently, I mean, like what we saw Andrich do, and
Umran
besides
Malik,
Malik, yeah, besides
Umran
Malik, yeah,
Malik, and Lockie Ferguson
they both hit 150 again already this tournament. Okay, cool.
consistently.
Consistently, okay, cool. So like, what 151s or like 54s,
Beyond.
56s?
Like I think Umran Malik has crossed 153, and Lockie Ferguson also has
Okay,
crossed
wow.
150. But yeah, these
Okay,
two
cool.
have crossed what the 150s quite consistently.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think
cool. Also,
last season Umran got to 156, I think,
hmm,
and he's more than capable of doing that again.
yeah. So that means that shows that KG's speed is a little bit of a concern for me personally as well. I think it's a little bit of a concern for South Africa. Can he get it back up again? Can he do it? I'm not sure. But let's get your final points, Aditya. I would like to hear your final thoughts on this particular matter. We will go back into daily shows, guys. Normal daily shows again this week. I'll be longer with you guys, answer your questions, etc. Aditya, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think in addition to what I said about adaptability, it must be said that the the IPL provides a platform for growth for players. If you talk about Aiden Markram, look at the people that he is interacting with day in and day out. He's got Tom Moody as head coach, Dale Steyn as bowling coach, Brian Charles Lara as batting coach, Muralidharan as spin bowling coach. He's got Kane Williamson as captain. You and it's quite a relaxed environment. It's quite a relaxed environment for them, because all of these individuals are seasoned characters. They are legends, and there's so much to learn from them. I'd be
It's
very interested at the end of the season. I'd be very interested to know more from Markram about what he's learned from Lara,
yeah.
because
We'll need to
you
get them
know
on the show again. Yeah.
that's a powerhouse of a batsman there, and I can't even begin to imagine the wealth of knowledge that he might have shared with Aiden. So,
I hope he asked him some tests with. I hope he asked him some tips with Test cricket.
oh, of course, we know historically that players who've played the IPL go on to play Test cricket a lot better than they used to pre-IPL. Kevin Peterson, for example, he became a much better Test player after he started playing the IPL because of his interactions with Rahul Dravid, Anil Kumble, Callis, and everyone. Because Kevin Peterson pre 2009 was an average player of spin, and that was around the time when the DRS was introduced. So the front foot LBW was being given out, and he didn't know how to combat that. And he asked Rahul Dravid for advice on how to play spin. And you look at his record against spin post 2009, 2010. He smashed spinners all over the world. So that tells you a story. These things matter. This is perhaps what they refer to as the soft skills that you learn from the IPL.
And it will be great to see after this tournament again, have another show where we talk about this more in depth. Maybe we can get some of the IPL guys, our IPL guys on the show with us to discuss what they've learned. I would try my best to do that, guys. It's going to be very difficult because they're all internationals. So I'll have to go through a lot of change and all of that stuff and try and work my connections, etc. But it will be fun to have that. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I know it was a shorter episode. We will make it up to you in the week. Don't worry about it. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe, click that notification bell for all future videos. Don't forget to download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics Magazine. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. Also become a patron today, guys. You got different tiers you can pick from. You can either choose if you want to buy me a sweetie or you want to buy me a cup of coffee. It's up to you guys. It's different tiers. You guys can choose. And when we get more patrons, when we get to like the 20 mark, then we'll start doing exclusive interviews, exclusive videos for you guys alone. So please get involved over there. Also, go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all updates. Aditya and myself have been keeping you guys up to date with the South African performances in the IPL when we can. So please go ahead and check on cricketfanaticsmag.com for all those updates too, and all other cricketing topics that we're going to be speaking about. Okay, guys, thanks Aditya for coming on the show. I know you need to get to bed now. Thanks a lot for giving us some of your time. Thanks a lot to everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care, everyone.